Hello sunshines! 안녕하세요 햇살이들. 네, 보컬 part 2 영상입니다. Welcome back to part 2 of our vocal practice. Once again, I am in my comfy clothes. I have just had breakfast because there are two types of people. Somebody who has to be really full before singing and somebody who has to have an empty stomach. And the more I eat, the better I sing. I have to be really full just before going into the recording booth. So what happens is usually in the recording studio, people order like a canteen box meals. While eating, we talk about how the session is gonna go, blah, blah, blah. And then the minute I put my spoon down, I go straight into the booth and start singing, like blasting out. And the volume difference on days where I'm full and not full are very different. So people who know me make sure that I am well fed before I go into that recording booth. Okay, so today I had to rummage through a lot of things to get this. I brought a few of my training lyric files. Yeah, and I'll show you how the trainees practice their songs. First of all, I have to go back and do the vocal warm-up to show you how I practice the songs. What happens when we're training songs? When you are just starting out, your trainers will pick out the songs for you. And they usually pick out the songs from singers they think that matches your voice tone. Or if you're just starting out, they will give out songs to practice that are very, very standard. Back in my day, it was Mariah Carey, Whitney Houston. I think that still applies today, all these divas who sing like, textbook vocals. I think it helps to build your foundation on all the necessary classic numbers, and then you move on to the ones that have, a little more something going on. For instance, if you're just starting out, I wouldn't really encourage you guys to start your repertoire by practicing Twice songs or Girls' Generation songs or Blackpink songs. All very trendy music, if you don't have the basic vocal skills embedded in yourself, if you start going for that flair, because in very trendy pop songs, especially dance numbers, vocalists will sing in a way, or they will be directed to sing in a way that will accentuate, that makes the number more fun and danceable. So it's not like a standard way of singing songs. So you want to get the basics down before you go into that. And that's why I had a lot of standard pop ballads in my repertoire when I was just starting out in JYP. So when you're picking the song, go for the slow numbers because it gives you time to think about everything that you need to do when you're singing. If you're breathing right, if you're all warmed up, if your muscles are getting tense as you go up, if your pronunciations are correct, how the emotions flow, okay? But if you practice sufficiently, you won't need to think. So what I always did, what my teachers always had me do, is write down all the things that I need to correct, think about them as I was singing, do it over and over and over and over and over and over again for days, weeks, months. And if I got that down, they would tell me to forget everything that I know about the song. Just get into it, feel it, and sing. The final stage of your practice has to be you emotionally being synchronized with the song and singing your heart out. But before you do that, you have to get all the skill sets in place. So, you picked out a song. What next? You copy the singer. The Korean singers, in my opinion, the very standard, perfect vocals would be Kim Bum-soo and Lee. Lee is a throwback. It goes way back. She's not even my generation, but for me, she has the perfect way of making a sound. So if you listen to those records over and over again, as you have the lyric sheet out and you are trying to copy what the singer is doing, you want to copy the singer's breathing. If you can hear the breathings, you make a mark. When there is a big breath, you also mark that. If there's a certain pronunciation that it's being emphasized a lot, you also mark that. My sheet musics are always very, very messy. Not so much these days because after training for 2 decades, it's a second nature. I don't need to like jot everything down now, but before, when I was just starting out, I would write everything down, and all my sheet musics were very, very, very messy. If there's a crescendo, if there's an ad-lib that's particularly difficult, if there's a chord that I want to write down so I can practice with the piano, if I need more control of the chords, if I want to press it down and make it flat, if I want more air in a certain word or a syllable, if I want to go soft in the first verse, set harder in the second verse, everything. You just copy the singer and you practice it. You have to remember that you're not trying to copy the voice. You're doing it with your own voice, but you're just copying every technique the singer is carrying out. Okay? Okay, so let me show you. This is... So this is All the Men That I Need, Whitney Houston. This used to be... There are some songs that are considered death and evil among some JYP trainees. This was one of them. When JY would tell us to practice this song, everyone went, this could be my final month here. It was this, and I Still Believe by Mariah Carey, Nobody's Supposed to Be Here by Deborah Cox. All these big, big numbers, they were hard. All the Man That I Need. It's a very, very difficult song. But it's a very good practice because it goes up and down all my ranges. I also have How Come You Don't Call Me by Alicia Keys. Wow. This one was a big number. It's Yesterday by Shanice. I have a lot of songs that, looking back, don't really go with my voice, but JY, to be honest, really did not like my voice. He still is, but back then he was a lot more into soul R&B music, and he really did not like my Disney princess voice. So he was trying to change the tone, which was a mistake because your voice, you can't change it. You're born with your voice, you can't change it. And he was giving me songs like Chain of Fools to try to change my voice. I think I sang this for like 2 months because the first month I sang it with my own voice. Chain of Fools. And he was like, no. Sing it like Aretha. I'm like, I don't have her voice. So the second month I had to go like chain, 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 chain of fools. And he's like, yeah, there you go. I'm like, no. Because I started practicing like that and it shortened my range so much. So I remember the first time I went to the vocal lesson, a vocal teacher said, oh my god, we have a Mariah Carey in the house, because when we were practicing our scales, I would go all the way up to like a 4th octave. And after doing this for a year, my range just shortened and I had a hard time hitting the high C. Just like an octave down from what I was able to hit. So yeah, it took a while for me to get back into my original shape. So don't ever try to change your voice because you're born with it. You have to live with it. And just perfecting what you have, that should be the point of your vocal training. Sheena, 2003 August. It brings back so many memories. I don't know why I still have it. I forgot about this folder and I just came upon it today. It's Before You Walk Out of My Life by Monica. I love this song. I really enjoyed singing this song. And you can see that there are some ad-libs. Okay, here's a tip. When you're practicing ad-libs, try to break it down note by note and pick up the speed as you practice. So for example, remind me you got it bad. Okay, hit those notes one by one. If you bad, bad, bad. If you can't do it, there's no point of practicing like this 100 times. If you can't do it, you have to hit each note separately. And if you got all that, pick up the speed. Bad, bad, bad. And then, yeah, it gets better. What else? This is another song Joey made me sing because he wanted to change my tone. It's You Must Be Crazy. I think it's Blue Cantrell. November 2003. You must be twisted, must be tripping if you're thinking that I'm gonna keep on messing with you, baby. I gave you love, I gave you trust, I gave you everything, but it was never enough. Wow. Ooh! Kelly Price, Don't Say Goodbye. So if you listen to these songs, you will know how much Joey really wanted to change my tone, and this brings back memories. If you see my 56-minute video on my trainee journey, I talk about my short musical experience, and that my very first musical audition was when I was actually a trainee in JYP. Did it for fun. Shouldn't have done it for fun. I should have just went for it then. I had auditioned for Beauty and the Beast, and this is the very file that I took. So it says Belle audition, number of choice, and it's Someone Like You from Jekyll and Hyde. The past is holding me, keeping life at bay. I love this number. Okay, so when you have copied the song down, try to practice on the instrumental, okay? Instrumental track, not the original track. Listen to the original track over and over again, but practice on the instrumental track, because if your voice and the original singer's voice overlap, you don't know how you're singing, and you tend to sing a lot louder than necessary. And overusing your vocals, not good. Make sure that you are practicing the songs that have the instrumental tracks. YouTube is a savior. Back in my day, we used to have, I don't know, some older trainees who would find all these MP3 files from the web, and they would burn CDs and hand them out to trainees so that we could just practice on our own. Those were the days. But now everything is on YouTube, and you can just go look it up, and they will be there. And I also have an app, and if you can download a file, I have an app that I use. I'm sure there's other apps that have the same function, but this is called the Music Speed Changer. And okay, this is a demo song for a lyric I'm writing. I can't play this. So there's a pitch and the speed, and I can also set a loop here. So if I can bring the pitch down on days where I'm not just in full condition, I would bring the pitch down by 1 or 2 notes. I would also slow it down so that I can practice at a slower pace, at a lower tone, and if I'm comfortable with it, I can bring it back to the original tone and speed. And that's also how we used to practice in a vocal room. So we would have vocal teachers play the piano with the sheet music, not the lyrics, but the sheet music. She would play the chords and I would sing, and on days where I'm not doing so well or my voice is super tired, she would bring down a chord so I can sing at a more comfortable pitch. Do not strain your voice, because you can't be in the exact pitch of all the songs you're practicing. Yeah, so if you're not comfortable with the original pitch, bring it down or bring it up if that's too low for you, and then gradually find your way to the original pitch and the original tone. What I also like to do, it just became a habit of mine to, when I'm practicing a song and I get the instrumental down, I listen to the instrumental file 1,000 times before I start singing. So one time I would just listen to the drums. I would just focus on the drums, nothing else, and just listen to it. And the next time I would just listen to the bass. The next, the strings, percussion. So on and on, I would just listen to each track of the song and try to picture how it would be with a band on a stage. So for each song, I would do a lot of detailed image training. So for some songs like Jekyll and Hyde, I would be in costume. I would be on a musical stage. I would have the actual orchestra playing each instrument with me live. Which camera I would look when I would practice all of that over and over again in my head a million zillion times on my way to the company. When I'm listening, I'm not just like listening. I was doing a lot of image training, and that also helps. So that's how I practice my songs. I hope it's helpful to any of you trying to practice your vocals. Oh, and one last thing. So when you think you've pretty much gotten the song down, record yourself. Whether it's a voice recorder on your phone, or there's an app, or with a camera. It's better with a camera, but you are checking for two different things. When you're recording your voice, you're only listening to how you sound, and you can really focus on the things that you're doing wrong, what you're doing right, how you imagine that you would sound like, but when you've actually recorded yourself, it could sound completely different. And when you are recording yourself, you can also check how you're doing performance-wise. Whether your eye contact is all wrong, whether you're moving your head too much when you're singing, or just going up and down. A lot of trainees had issues at first because we were just so used to singing by ourselves in our room. We didn't know what we were doing. For me, I had a weird habit of stretching out my right foot at odd beats. And my vocal trainer was like, what are you doing with your right foot? And I didn't even know. I corrected that really quickly. In a couple months, it was all gone. We recorded all the monthly tests and monitored it. So it really helps if you monitor yourself with recording and the videotaping. You can do it with your phone. They're so much better these days. So the final stage of monitoring and correcting yourself, that's also very important. So that's it for today. I hope it helps. Don't forget to hydrate your vocal cords, eat really well before you're singing your heart out, and enjoy yourself. Okay, so happy singing, and catch me on my next video.